Time to switch glasses. Today, I'll be speaking about 6 million sick and dying Canadians who are being harmed and abused by our federal government regulations. Good morning, I am Joy Davies. I'm the founding member of the Canadian Medical Cannabis Partners, and I am the Government Relations Director. Canadian Medical Cannabis Partners is a patient-driven, non-profit organization that has been lobbying our provincial governments across Canada to step up to the plate and bring dignity back to those who have health issues. We are currently represented in BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, Labrador, and the Northwest Territories. All of our representatives are federally licensed medical cannabis partners with severe to mild health issues that have stopped them from being able to have a life, if not for cannabis. I am also a federally licensed medical cannabis partner patient. I live with fibromyalgia, catalyst of the car accident in 1997. I was 5 years in bed on 13 pharmaceuticals when friends brought me a bag of joints and said, "Joy, this isn't fun. This is medicine. We don't want you to die, and we see that happening in front of our eyes. Please try this." And I did, and I have a life. And I'm so grateful for this plant that I knew nothing about until they brought it to me. Slide, please. Children with up to 200 epileptic seizures a day are benefited from cannabis oil. Seniors with glaucoma who are currently getting needles filled with pharmaceuticals and stuck in their eyeballs to reduce the pressure are denied the right to try cannabis to reduce the pressure and slow down the journey to blindness and possibly prevent it if they catch it early enough. Cancer patients are denied their right to medical plant that has been legal for medicinal purposes in Canada for 14 years. Many endure torturous side effects of toxic pharmaceuticals that do not address either their symptoms nor do they cure them of their cancer. No pharmaceutical can cure cancer. Slide, please. The government system we've lived with for the past 14 years has given no opportunity for doctors to be educated in the protocols of administering medical cannabis. Even though the doctors have complained at large of their lack of knowledge, they are not being heard. The two largest stakeholders with regard to medical cannabis are doctors and patients, and these are the two groups that have not been consulted seriously by any level of government. Patients who are law-abiding citizens are criminalized by our federal government in Canada. Patients who have to work within a very broken system and at times have to choose between losing their freedoms and rights by growing their medicine or going back to wheelchairs, living with excruciating pain, and losing their quality of life without the ability to use cannabis as a medicine. Slide, please. Patients are forced to protest those who should be protecting them and their families, yet they struggle to be heard. Sick people should not have to be fighting their governments as they are fighting their diseases. As a medical patient that's been engaged for over 5 years politically, it's very disheartening to be thrown in, as far as the media perception, to appear to be organized crime because I grow to keep myself alive. We try to use the word cannabis as medical patients. We tire of seeing headlines that say, grow-offs busted, medical license. Yes, there were people that abused their licenses, and there were organized crime involved, but even according to the RCMP studies of 2010, that number was 70 out of 40,000 patients, yet they threw the others under the bus with their new regulations. Slide, please. And slide, please. No, it went away. Can we go back? No, try ahead. Okay, I'll read what I have here somehow. It's not working. Thank you. Yes. The federal government programs continually fail to meet the needs of Canadian patients. On December the 10th, 1997, Patrick Shepherd of the Ontario Court of Justice ruled that people must be able to access necessary medical treatment without fear of arrest. Terry Parker became the first Canadian to be exempted from further prosecution for either possession or cultivation of marijuana. Unfortunately, our Harper federal government continues to ignore the rulings of the courts, putting up more and more barriers to dignified access to medical cannabis, then forcing those patients and caregivers who are caught in non-compliance through the criminal justice system. Our provincial governments consistently ignore their responsibility under the Canada Health Act, while our neighbours to the south ignore their federal government's mean-spirited rule of law and stand up for their citizens by implementing programs that allow their weakest and most vulnerable citizens to access this medical plant. With it being slated as a Schedule I drug, it impedes the provinces from working with it under the Canada Health Act. We're saying we understand that there are federal transfer funds that may be taken away to a degree if a province stands up for the rights of their citizens. But we're also saying, look at the financial and economic benefits of doing this. Look at the lives you're saving. Look at the lowering of the healthcare costs provincially if medical cannabis was to become under their provincial programs. We, being patients, fighting for our lives, we don't have the expertise, and we're not economists. I'm actually reaching out to any of you that can help us put the numbers together to encourage our provinces to step up. Slide, please. I began my journey in 2009 while I was on City Council. I presented a resolution to decentralize the medical marijuana access regulation program to the provinces. It was not endorsed at that City Council, but I gave it to a colleague in Victoria, and it was endorsed in Victoria. It was then forwarded to the 2010 UBCM delegates. It was endorsed at UBCM in 2010 and again at FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, in 2011. Across Canada, the municipal elected officials were telling their provincial and federal governments that they want a solution. They want a better system, allow the provinces to administer the programs. The federal government cannot legislatively work with a dignified program. It costs taxpayers millions of dollars for the mess that the federal government has created. Provincially, it would cost no money because of the income derived from license fees from patients. In 2009, I led a primary research trip to the state of Oregon. They were amazing. I had the opportunity to meet with the head of the state and to see why their program works. And I brought that information back, and I formed a small society in Grand Forks where I was on council, and our board put together my research and a proposal that we use for the province. But we are not being heard. For 5 years, we are not being heard as patients. In 2012, history was made in British Columbia at the Supreme Court level when Justice Robert Johnson concluded that the restriction of dry cannabis in the medical marijuana access regulations was unconstitutional and it breached Section 7 of the Charter of Rights. Only in British Columbia can patients use their medicine in the best way that suits their medical needs. It looks like patients in the other provinces of Canada are second-class citizens. Do you have family that are sick in Alberta, Ontario, PEI? Why would they not be given the right to heal as we are in British Columbia? Keep going forward. No, it's okay. I'm not used to telling people what to do. Keep going. There we are. Thank you. We need to stop the ongoing government abuse of our children. If you have a pen, write this down. Go to YouTube and type in Quest for Kyla to see one of our own babies who lives in Summerland, who is suffering. Her grandparents are fighting the broken system for her life, while her parents are caring for her. Kyla has a form of epilepsy that cannabis benefits. If Kyla was your granddaughter, what would you be prepared to do to save her life? We are here asking you to think of that question and to come up with some answers, and I'll provide a couple at the end before I close. Slide, please. The Liberal Party in BC made a promise during the election they haven't kept, and that is to consult with the stakeholders. The doctors have never been consulted with, and neither have the patients. Slide, please. The American Epilepsy Society recently made the statement on medical cannabis. Marijuana derivative cannabidiol for some individuals with treatment-resistant epilepsy give reason for hope. It is saving the lives of the children. Slide, please. Up here are the goals of our organization. Doctors should not be forced to be gatekeepers. Naturopaths, nurse practitioners, doctors of Chinese medicine, and chiropractic kinesiologists should be included in the decision-making of allowing their patients to access medical cannabis for their purposes. They are trained to work with non-pharmaceuticals. Slide, please. We petition our provincial government to strike a task force to set parameters for provincial medical cannabis program. As it is crucial to ensure the process is not skewed, it is imperative that patients and doctors be included at the decision-making table. Education for all medical practitioners is easy, and they are qualified people who are educating medical practitioners at this time in British Columbia. Slide, please. Growers and dispensaries need to be inspected and regulated. Lab testing needs to be done to ensure quality product, and the list of components of the plant and derivatives is there for patients to see. We need to know what's going in our bodies. Slide, please. I'd like to close by honoring a few British Columbians who have died unnecessarily due to the stigmatism and the ignorance around this plant. Marilyn Holstein, at the age of 49, from Vancouver. She was a double amputee, diabetic, and her doctor had her on cannabis for medical purposes. She lived in a seniors' home that objected through their ignorance to this plant, and they evicted her. She died of a heart attack caused by the stress. I stood up because my dear friend of 20 years, who suffered for 10 years of a debilitating disease that the doctors couldn't help her with, I gave her the forms for Health Canada. Her doctor said no, they put her on methadone. I stand here honoring her unnecessary death as she represents millions of others in the same situation. Slide, please. Next one. Oh, no, behind. Two behind. Two more. Yep. And one more. Yep, that's a wrap. I don't need to say anything. I think the pictures say it all. Next slide. The picture says it. We are law-abiding citizens. We want our dignity. We want to stop being violated. Next, please. And we are protesting for this right. And finally, next slide. Closest to my heart is the death of Beth Hutchison. She passed in October last year. She is the daughter of one of my colleagues who is here, and you can speak with them later, David. Many of you know her sad story. It was highly publicized. She had brain tumors. Her doctors gave her 6 months to live. Her doctors applied for Health Canada license. It took 6 months to get the approval from Health Canada. She was using the Simpson oil, which extended her life 2.5 years past the time the doctor said she would die. Next, please. Millions of Canadians are suffering. You may, in this room, be suffering, but the stigmatism stops you from using this plant. The fear of being found out by friends and neighbors or being arrested. Will you help us? If you will, please come to our booth. We're at number 44. Talk to us. We have a petition. Please sign our petition. My colleagues there are David and Stephen and Johannes. Last slide. Just ask you, what will you do to be part of the solution? Thank you for your time and for listening.